Game Tengoku Crusin Mix. Man, I was so excited when I heard that this was available on PSN because the original Game Tengoku was an awesome arcade game that I had been looking for the home console version on the Saturn, of course. And that game is very hard to find, very, very rare. So to have a digital version that is cheaper than the physical one and it has more content, yeah, I needed this. Now the plot to Game Tengoku Crusin Mix follows a minimum wage arcade attendant. Her shift is just about to start, but alas, all the arcade cabinets have been infected with a virus, so she, in all of her cleverness, decides to hook up 6 classic Jaleco arcade boards to summon their heroes to defeat the virus. Because that's how antivirus protection works. Actually, for a shmup, there is a ridiculous amount of actual plot in this game. Oh, don't get me wrong, this is a very goofy game that's somewhat reminiscent of, say, Parodius or Star Parodier, but it's not a game about goofiness. There is goofiness here, but it's mostly a game that exists to celebrate the greatness of the games industry as a whole, and video game history. And because of that, there is lots of little bits of story here and there about like the game history and where the game industry is at this point, and kind of the sad state that it's going, and oh my god, even more recently, it's even more depressing. I mean, hell, you kind of want to root for the villain here. But between every single chapter, you get at least one cutscene that just creates some goofy, largely inconsequential plot for the main characters, as well as a chapter of the villain's story, which is, again, you want to root for these guys. They make a very solid point. But the story itself is rather goofy and it's clever, and you end up rooting for the characters and sort of endearing yourself to them. If I did have one complaint about the plot though, every cutscene does drag on quite a fair bit. As well, while you get the villain chapters every single time you play this game, you only get the hero chapter for the one hero you're playing as. So if you want to see like the full hero story, you gotta play this game like 6 times. Not to be fair, it's a great game, so I'm okay with doing that, but still, for a single cutscene, it's not that incentivizing. And you know, if there was one other thing I wish I could change about the plot, honestly, I just want to see more stuff with the villains. I think they're goofy. You've got like this super genius guy who's just totally goofy, and his 2, I guess they kind of make them out to be like brainwashed assistants who are just complete idiots who don't know that Ninja-kun's little brother was Jajamaru-kun. Seriously, how do you not know that? I find them frustrating, but you know, I love these villain characters. I want to see them in something. Can we get like an anime just dedicated to these 3 characters, please? Miniseries? I'll take miniseries. Seriously, these characters are awesome. I want to follow the further adventures of them. When you get to the final chapter, they actually like sort of take a bow and say, you know, this is like the last time you'll see us in these scenes, and I genuinely felt bad about that because I loved these characters. They were awesome. This game is also an absolute wealth of information on Jaleco titles of past. Like I said, the heroes all come from classic Jaleco arcade games, including Field Combat. I talked about this one. As well as Formation Z, which, can we just stop for a minute and just recognize how awesome this poster is? I think I need this Formation Z poster. Also, I have no idea what Plus Alpha is, but this game looks awesome. I have got to find a way to play this. This enhanced version on the PS4 actually has a little bit of history for every single game that the characters are featured from. And that's actually pretty cool. I really do appreciate that. And it's all tucked away in the options menu, so if you don't want to get bogged down by information or even cutscenes, that's all entirely skippable. You can just get to the shmuppy bits if that's really what you want. But again, seeing how this game is sort of a celebration of the video games of old, I think it's kind of important to sort of recognize every single bit of content this game has that really does celebrate that. And there is just an insane amount of content here. Seriously, story-wise, plot-wise, and just general information that this game tries to give you, fantastic. Now, the overall gameplay to Game Tengoku it's your standard vertical scrolling shmup. It's not bad or anything, but I will say I am playing on the easiest setting with unlimited lives because, let me just be completely honest, I absolutely needed them. But what's interesting about it is just how different all the worlds are and how they try to explore how different iterations and different aspects of the games industry is. Because one level might be dedicated entirely to crane games, whereas the next might be dedicated to the deluxe arcade cabinets like Outrun or Afterburner, whereas the next one might be a level dedicated to home consoles and a karaoke level. Also, I'm pretty sure at least 2 of these levels in the Arcade Plus mode are exclusive to this mode, as opposed to the original, I think is how that works. Like I said, this version adds a little bit that the original version did not have, but I don't have access to the original, so I can't really tell what's been added. But I know there are 2 additional levels in one of these modes. In addition to your standard fare of flying forward and shooting a whole bunch, each individual hero and ship has a different special shot, as well as special bombs. And they actually do behave differently. I found playing as the original character from Xerion to be really difficult because his shots just weren't quite as effective, whereas I really did enjoy playing as the robot from Formation Z because he's kind of got like this homing laser sort of nonsense. And likewise, there are options in this game that are basically just mini versions of your heroes. Unfortunately, this also means that they behave very similarly. You're either going to be using like a little option that's kind of worthless, or one that's really, really good. Now the nice thing is the option power-ups float slowly towards the ground and they shuffle through your different sidekicks that you could possibly have, so if you time it right, you could get the option that you really want. But that means that you have to be paying attention to that instead of bullets that you should be dodging, so it's a bit of risk reward, and I really do appreciate that. Another thing that I just love about this game, and it really does show how much of a absolute love letter to video games that this is the inclusion of what in other games would be largely inconsequential background stuff actually having a purpose and value in this game. For example, like I said, there's a karaoke level. All the different lyrics and music itself are the weapons in that level. Or there's a level later on where you're flying across an arcade board and you have to shoot the chips off the arcade board. There's a level dedicated to the evolution of graphics systems over the years, starting with like very basic sprites to wireframes to pre-rendered stuff and 3D polygons with proper shading and stuff. It's really awesome to see, and that's why I say this is more of a celebration of the games industry than necessarily just a jokey joke random shooter like Parodius. Parodius was the kind of game where you'd run into bottles of milk that shoot cows at you. Game Tengoku is a game where you fly through a used game shop to fight a mech made entirely of used game consoles. This isn't a game that exists simply to be goofy, so much as it is a love letter to everything around this game and around the industry as a whole. And that's fantastic, and it doesn't hurt. It's an amazing shmup with a lot of content. Sure, the main game itself only has about 8 levels, but there's a little bit more to it if you're willing to look for it. Plus, there's a whole slew of options to make it more difficult, more easy, and of course, tons of replayability to build up your score. It is an excellent shmup, and it's an absolute blast to play. Now, the overall presentation to Game Tengoku Crusin Mix is really impressive. Whether you're playing the older version or the newer version of this game in this compilation, remake, whatever you want to call it, you're going to have an absolute blast. Every single level has its own unique visual flair. Like I said, they have levels dedicated to the evolution of graphics, they have levels dedicated to physical hardware, they have levels dedicated to the stores you buy games in, as well as the arcades you would visit in Japan. And all the levels look perfect for what they need to do. And every level has its own unique set of enemies that really does fit the theme of what the level is. It is visually quite brilliant, and audio-wise, it is excellent. Characters are voice acted very well, especially in the cutscenes, and the audio is fast-paced and very, very catchy, and they like to try and work it into gameplay here and there. Like I said, there's the stuff with the karaoke theme level, but the level with the UFO catchers, you can hear like the little stuffed animal boss taunting you every time you shoot a stuffed animal. It's genuinely awesome to see how many small little touches everywhere, both in presentation and gameplay and just all over the place, that this game shows that the people who made this really were passionate about this game. That's what I think this game was. It was just a large work of passion, and you see passion all over the place, and I absolutely love that. Now, if you want a copy of Game Tengoku Game Paradise Crusin Mix on the PS4, cheapest one I'm seeing on eBay right now, $50 brand new. And you can get it digitally for a little bit less. I got it while it was on sale for about $20, $25, and I think this game is totally worth it at full price, because this game is an experience as much as it is a love letter to the games industry. And if you love the games industry, you're gonna love this game. I think pretty much everything about this just screams passion and quality, and I think if you like shmups, you absolutely need to play this. There's also the awesome Sega Saturn version, which is really expensive, as well as a special version of that came with a VHS tape. There was also a PS1 version that actually got a sequel, and since I can play import PS1 games, I've got to track that one down. And you know, Game Tengoku, regardless of which iteration, which version, or which flavor you played, is going to be a fun, goofy time. That's going to make you very nostalgic for the arcades and for old school gaming and where the game industry was, and probably make you shudder at where it is now, but still, this is a fun one, and I think it's absolutely worth picking up, because this game clearly loves games, and I clearly love games as well. Ergo, I love this game.
これがカラオケか。なんて攻撃的なんだ。